Uh, Respected Chairman, Professional Skill Enrichment Committee, Dr. C.A. Anuj Goyal. Respected Vice Chairperson, C.A. Sri Priya Kumar, who is going to join us shortly. Speaker for this session, C.A. Shanwas Khan, and other dignitaries for this webinar, and all participants for this webinar. Yeah, warm good morning to all. It's my great pleasure in welcoming you all for this webinar on interpersonal skills for chartered accountants, organized by the Professional Skill Enrichment Committee of ICA and enabling by Tirupur branch of SIRC. I wanted to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude for our chairman and vice chairperson, exceptional leadership and dedication in the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee. The initiatives and programs you are organizing have been invaluable in enhancing the professional skills and knowledge of our community, ultimately contributing to our collective growth and success. On behalf of all members, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your outstanding contributions. I am confident that under your guidance, the Professional Enrichment Committee will continue to flourish and positively impact our profession. Before inviting the chairman for addressing the members, I wanted to formally introduce the chairman for our participants. CA Dr. Anuj Goyal, Central Council member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, qualified in all three professional qualifications, Chartered Accountancy, Company Secretary, and CMA. Besides that, he is a holder of LLP, he is a doctorate, DISA and DRM qualifications. Besides that, he is 6 times Central Council member of ICA. He is the Chairman, Professional Skills Enrichment Committee of ICA, Chairman, Ethical Standards Board, Convener, Publication and CDS Directorate, Vice Chairman, Sustainability Reporting Standards Board, Vice Chairman, Taxes and Audits Quality Review Board, and members of various non-standing committees of ICA. He is a dynamic Central Council member who is always with the prime objective to serve the members of ICA at large and always stands with and for the members of ICA. He had earlier served as a chairman of SIRC of ICA, as chairman and in other positions of CARC of ICA, and chairman in the Ghaziabad branch of CARC of ICA. So with these great words, I invite the chairman to address the members.
Thank you very much, our honorable moderator, enabler, and the chairperson of Tirupur branch, C. Senthil Kumarji. I welcome all our honorable delegates who are present. I think more than 2,000 delegates are with us from each and every part of the country, outside the country also. I welcome Sri Priya ma'am, our honorable vice chairperson and the Central Council member from Chennai. We are having the presence of our very, very prominent resource person, Sahnawaz from Middle East, and he is having the presence in other parts of the world also. We are having the presence of other event enablers, C.A. Tarunji, Secretary, Tirupur branch, Sirwan Rajaji, and other event enablers, and Dr. Samit Misraji, our Secretary of this Professional Skill Enrichment Committee. As we are very well aware, friends, that we are trying our level best to see that this, for the first time, we have come out with this Professional Skill Enrichment Committee, and we want to see that how our chartered accountants, who are the best accounting professionals across the globe, their skills can be further enriched. I'm really very happy that we are successful in kick-starting the vision and mission of our this important committee, and we are trying to see that how we can reach out to each and every member through BCMs, through webinars. Physically also, we are going to reach out to each and every member, and in this series we are having this very, very important VCM today on interpersonal skills, and we are very well aware chartered accountants. They are not, of course, having that system of the classroom education. We are practically having the distance learning education and then articleship with the chartered accountant. So it is very, very important to see that how we can further polish the skills of the chartered accountants. And interpersonal skills is one of that skill in which I think it is very, very important that how we can further enrich the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And we are having the best of the resource persons who is having the experience in each and every part of the world. And when you do have the exposure of other parts of the world also, so you are better suited to let the members know that how they are supposed to further enrich their interpersonal skills. I am not going to take much of the time as we are very, very eager to hear our honorable guest speaker, Sainawaz Khanji. I once again welcome all our honorable members from each and every part of the country, outside country also, and specifically Sri Priya ma'am, who is leading this committee as vice chairperson by example. And I'm really very happy that Tirupur branch chairman, secretary, and other office bearers are acting as an enabler in a great way. So I once again welcome Srivan Rajaji, who has just become visible. So without taking your further time, I hand over to the event enabler for further proceeding. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your address. Before inviting the vice chairperson to address for the participants, CA Sri Priya Kumar, Central Council member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. She had earlier served as a Central Council member in the term 2016 to 2019 and in the Southern India Regional Council in the year 2012 to 2015. She is currently the chairperson of the Sustainability Reporting Standard Boards of ICA and also the vice chairman of the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee and Corporate Laws and Corporate Governance Committee of ICAI. So I request Sri Priya Madam to address the participants.
On behalf of the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee of ICAI, I take great pleasure in extending a very warm and a very hearty welcome to all of you to this webinar on interpersonal skills. Very thankful to Sri Anuj Goyal for his exemplary leadership of this committee. We plan to primarily do 3 initiatives under this committee. One is this series of webcasts which are going to be held every Saturday only on a professional skills enrichment. The second is we're going to have focused workshops in each of the branches. So we've already prepared about 10 modules. That's 3 hours per module. So you can run 2 modules in a day. There is a fee, a minimum fee that is getting charged. In addition to which a grant is being provided by the committee, and I would encourage the branches to start. The first 2 modules are ready. That's on leadership and communication and negotiation skills. So you can actually, so we've also done a faculty guidance video. There's a standard PowerPoint. There's a faculty who's explained how to deliver it. So you can find a local HR resource to actually run the programs for you. So that's the second initiative. And the third initiative is 3 days a week, we are having an online class, which is one faculty to guide on a small theme like negotiation strategies. That's all. Like within interpersonal skills, we're talking only about, let's say, communication skills. So these are the 3 initiatives that we are trying to spearhead for now. And even these programs that we're running 3 days a week, if, for example, a branch, say Tirupur or Coimbatore or let's say Ghaziabad, they want to do only for their members also, we are very happy to have a special batch. So, and we've priced it very nominally at 100 rupees per session, but our only request is the participants have to come on video. So in those sessions, because then only the faculty can interact with them. So this is broadly on the initiatives of the committee, and we are focusing on about 16 core skills. Now, in terms of interpersonal skills, what is interpersonal skills? Those are the skills that you require to be able to communicate effectively and come across as a great person or a great professional. Now, you might think, why are we talking about, we need to know our accounting standard, auditing standards, all this. Why do we need interpersonal skills? I think interpersonal skills are very, very important to build trust. Whether it's to build trust with a client. So, for example, when you go to a client and you say, this entry is wrong, you can say, what, sir? You didn't even pass this entry correctly. It doesn't help to build trust. You have to say, sir, there are improvements which are needed, which are systemic. Please come for a meeting. Let's sit down. I'll explain to you so that you understand how we can correct ourselves to move for the future. And although you're an auditor and separate from the entity, it's not wrong to use the term we in that sense, saying, okay, we are then trying to guide you. I think for a profession where the core underpinning is trust, I think the most valuable skills are interpersonal skills. With these words of introduction, I'd like to invite Shahnawaz Khan, who's not just a great speaker, but a very passionate supporter of the initiatives of the committee. I also extend my sincerest gratitude to the event enablers of today. CA Sendal Kumar Kesi, Chairman of the Tirupur branch, CA Tharun, and CA Saravana Raja, sir, your name was not visible, sir, for your presence this today. And the whole idea of enabling this event enabler is because we want our members to come forward and speak. So for each of the programs of both the Professional Skills Committee and the Sustainability Reporting Standards Board, we've said the branches and it's our individuals. And one interesting thing about the profession is, it's not just ICAI, which is an institution. I think each chartered accountant is an institution. Saravana Raja sir is an institution. Sendal Kumar is an institution. Tharun is an institution. And hence the need to develop our personal skills, which translate to institutional skills, which can build trust. Thank you very, very much for being here today. And my thanks are also due to Sambitji, who takes a lot of effort in organizing these programs. And it's over back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sripiraji. We are really proud of you. Dhinawad.
Thank you. And Anujbhai has been so nice to work with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. So I wholeheartedly thank the chairman and vice chairperson for giving the opportunity to all the branches to act as enabler for this great program. Thank you, sir, and thank you, madam. So now we invite our past chairman of Tirupur branch, CA MP Varadarajan, to narrate the objective of this program.
It's audible.
Yes.
Good morning for the organizer, all the participants. The objective of this webinar is interpersonal skills for chartered accountant, which part of our professional skills enrichment committee initiative is to equip the participant with the necessary skills to navigate the complex interpersonal dynamic of the professional world. All of our aware that we CS are having sound knowledge in expertise skill in the field of accounts and finance. But compared to our technical skills, what we are having, some of our members have to still improve their interpersonal skills to cope up with the person, to run the profession smoothly. To overcome this, ICAI has organized this webinar aims to enhance the interpersonal ability of the chartered accountant, focusing on communication excellence to improve the verbal communication and non-verbal communication to articulate the ideas and clearly and effectively to cope up with the present e-filing and application of the softwares. Then client relations, as Sripriya madam already said, the building and maintaining a strong client relationship through the trust and understanding. Then team collaboration, the fostering collaborative environment to work efficiently within the teams and across the teams. Yes, the Goyal sir said, we are done articles with some chartered accountant firm. So we are not having much more interpersonal skills with the group and teams as compared to MBA. So we have to improve our knowledge in the field of team collaboration and working with the teams. Apart from that, complex conflict resolution, to developing a strategy to manage and resolve conflicts in personal settings. It will useful for the members in using the appeal before income tax authorities and tribunals. The leadership development, the cultivating leadership qualities that inspire and motivate the teams. Apart from that, networking and expanding the professional network and leverage connections for each growth. Apart from that, negotiation skills, which are the skills required for smooth and pleasant professional. In this requirement, our institute has organized this webinar to betterment of all our knowledge to enhance to the next level. Thank you for Senthil giving this opportunity.
I must place on record the presence of CA Varadarajan as well. He did not come on my screen, so I could not see him. Welcome, Varadarajan.
Okay, madam.
Very,
Okay,
very
madam.
well summarized. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Varadarajan sir. So, dear participants, today's this session on interpersonal skills for our members contains 4 parts. One is dimensions of interpersonal relationship, and another one is self-assessment models to improve interpersonal relationship, and the third one is tips to develop interpersonal skills, and the last one is work ethics is a means to success. So before inviting the speaker to address our members on the topic, I request our SICASA chairman and immediate past chairman of our Tirupur branch, CAK Saravana to formally introduce the speaker to the participants.
Good morning to one and all, everyone present. Son Navasar is equipped with natural leadership, talents, and business acumen with a proven record of accomplishment in the assurance, risk assurance, and advisory during the career spanning over 20 years, with Big 4 firm in UK, Europe, Africa, and Middle Asia. Sean sir served as the head of assurance and head of FAAS for the Grand Thronatic and CEO of Baker Tilly in the Gulf regions. He is leading as a CEO the Ballard Global, a multi-jurisdictional global consultancy firm. He is a chartered accountant from ICAI and ICAEW and hold the PhD from Hati University. Sean sir has a trend setter and set up the IFRS advisory, the Central of Financial Services Excellence, offshore centers, managed services, finance transformation, change management, and training and development across the global. Sansar has involved in regulators, UK Audit Forum, AAO, IFI, CEO forums, ICAI chapters, developed the standards, methodologies, policies, thought papers, news articles, and organized knowledge sessions. Workshop and seminar on the emerging trend, regulation, and soft skill for ICAI. Leading professional body and university. Sansar has served with ICAI chapter in GCC region and currently served as the ambassador for the ICAEW in the region. Sansar is also an established poet, recently appeared in K-pop music video Friends with her spouse. With a few words, I hand over the session to our today's speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Namaste, Adab. Good morning to all of you. I suppose so much has already been said on communication as this. So much has already. I thank Shri Priya ji and all the committee member and Anuj Bhai as well. The communication and interpersonal skills has been very vital as well. And one of the reasons why I happen to be here is just because of the interpersonal skills. Because when I see Anuj Bhai and Shri Priya ma'am actually is organizing it, I could refrain myself in, I suppose, finding some time, though I'm actually very busy in setting up my consultancy across 12 countries. But yes, the cause is very, very important and very close to my heart as well. Thank you very much once again. Just let me set my screen and then we can do the rest of the talking as well. So is that my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
So yes, before we set up, I suppose, the interpersonal skills, let me just take a, little bit, all of you, I suppose, what we may need, because Shripriya ma'am has already said something about the trust, communication, and so many things in negotiation, persuasions. These all the skills, we need as a chartered accountant. And 20 years back when I qualified, I suppose those were the talks as well in our GMC classes as well, that, why we are not the MBA, why MBA are better than us. Fortunately, or I suppose, with the grace of God, I managed to work across in a lot of countries. And I have been through with these challenges. When I moved to London almost 20 years back, I also had a trouble, I guess, in understanding, the communication, the languages, the tone, the negotiation, the persuasion skills. And I worked very, very hard and acquired these skills. And I thought that why don't I start sharing, with the people across the board as well. So that's the attempt. And thank you very much for the committee, I suppose, coming up with this cause as well. So today's topic happens to be the interpersonal skills and work ethics. So we combine the work ethics alongside with interpersonal skills as well. But we will probably touch base on some of the elements as well, negotiations, brand, and persuasions as we go along as well. So the agenda is very, very simple. What is the interpersonal skills, dimensions, how we can understand better, the interpersonal skills as well. And the most important part often, people do not appreciate is the interpersonal skill itself is nothing. It's all about the interpersonal relationship. So for example, the way I have a relationship with Shripriya ma'am as well. So this is one of the classical example. Whenever she needs help, I suppose the moment she's asked, I would probably make myself available because the element of trust between us is so high. Work and ethics as well. So we'll discuss something, a definition of work and then ethics. And being a chartered accountant, I would expect that probably like 25 marks, questions are still coming in or a show audit. So we should know the meaning of ethics by all means. But there we understand the principle of ethics in workplace as well, and how that's also related to your personality as well. The role of communication in interpersonal relationships. So the most important element, which we are going to understand a little bit better up here is the interpersonal skills. The primary skills required is communication, and which does not mean just, the way we speak, is the body language, gestures, that all counts as communication as well. And the second most important part, which often, the Indian chartered accountant, I suppose, not come across very, very well, is the active listening. So we don't listen. We just, try to listen, I guess, so that we can reply. So no active listening. Johari and window model. So what are these models as well? These are the skills model, which I have personally used as well, and they've been used widely across the world. They've been there, I suppose, in 1950s. And we'll see how these models are, where possibly we can use them, and how I suppose they can help us in grow further as well. So tips to develop interpersonal skills, which are not going to be any different the moment, we finish, I suppose, with the sessions. You will find a smile, gestures, and humor also. It's one of the interpersonal skills set as well. And work ethics also, the attendance, punctualities, I suppose the dress code as well. So most of the things, because this topic is very, very common, I suppose, which we need every day. So you will find that these terms you might have heard. You probably, somebody might have told you earlier as well. You probably have read it somewhere else as well. So the attempt, I suppose, is to revise, I suppose, learn, relearn, and then practice a little bit as well. The first and first more, your viewpoint. So this is something, I'm just posing a question. Perhaps at the end of the session, if we ask this question again, I would expect that your perspective might change. How does it make you feel when someone forgets your name? Or if you're someone whom you met before, but forget the person name. And it happens with me because I tend to meet a lot of people across the globe as well. So this is something, I'm also been one of the culprit as well. And I also, and that's all started, why I started investing in time on soft skills as well, because people feel a little offensive when they, find that you don't remember their name, or when you probably pronounce the wrong name as well. And that's also starting from the trust, the interpersonal skills, how you come across as well. So could be the starting proposition. So I will come back after the session, how that changes your viewpoint. So if you see, this is what people may feel when you don't remember their names. Would you say you are equally responsible for the mistreatment? If you are being treated badly in a relationship and you don't express your dissatisfaction to the other person as well. So is that something you feel this is the right statement? We'll come back as well. And we will also see the relationship may not necessarily mean the personal and professional relationship, because interpersonal skills nowadays, I would expect in the recent times, are required more at home, with the friends and social circle as well. So I've been married for 18 years. And I suppose all those skills which I've learned during those 18 years now are very much essential. So this is the need of the hour, may not necessary for the work as well. So we will come back on that question as well. But if you feel that you are also being mistreated, well, this is the mood I suppose people may have at home as well. So what is the interpersonal skills? So this is where you and me are. I suppose we are wondering what they are. And with the help of picture, can we try to think what they are? You see a lot of chatting, a lot of talking happening. People are talking, people are smiling, people are arguing, people are presenting. So interpersonal skill is all about getting along with the people. In a work environment, we need it every day. And our communication is the best part, I suppose, to explain it. But as you see in the picture, some of these, the persons, they are not speaking at all. They are just, I suppose, looking at each other as well. That happens to be the part of interpersonal skills as well. So what the interpersonal skills are and why do we need it? It's all about working with other people. So definitely when you work with somebody else, you need those skills. An ability to get along with others while performing the job. So I happen to be, for example, a partner in the firm, but I cannot work alone. I need people to work with me. And those people could be managers, senior manager, my clients, customers, regulators. So which means I have to work with everybody around. So interpersonal skills is nothing, but is the ability to get along with others. Characteristics like manners, attitude, courtesy, habits, behavior, and appearance as well. These are all part of interpersonal skills, which help us to communicate and maintain relationships. So the two key words which you possibly can take it, from this slide as well, and essentially for the session also, that communicate and maintain relationship. So at the end of the day, we have to communicate. We need to communicate as a chartered accountant with the vast stakeholders, as we have seen, who gets along with others as well. And why do we need to communicate? To maintain the relationship. And when we have the relationship, we can get the job done, be it customer or be it the internal stakeholders. So that's the picture suggests is once we get along well with the people, we can possibly get a deal. So the definition of work, what is the work, if I may ask, and you can start, I suppose, thinking in the background as well, that what is the work? The work happens to be, let me just close this camera. So, personal activities that is aimed at developing a person. So work involves a personal activity as well. For example, people are investing time in this session. I'm investing the time in this session. Why? Because I want to develop myself and I want to develop you as well. Social activities. So social activities also part of the word is the purpose preservation of human society. So we are here, in particular, I am there. I want to share my experience with the larger audience. And that's also part of my work as well. Legitimate use of the bodily power as well. And legitimate use of the mental powers. So because nobody can imitate the other person as well. So this is the definition of the work. And the work itself is may not necessarily that, what you do in the office. The work is everything. Personal capacity, professional capacity, social and personal families. So this is all the definition of the work. And why do we actually need this definition? Why do we need, I suppose, something to call it work as well? The purpose of the work is to gain an economic gain or the power as well. So that happened to be there. And that's pretty much also true for chartered accountants, because at the end of the day, we have to run our families, we have to run our offices, and to get the economic gain or some sort of power. Again, and that's translated into financial terms. So why do actually we need a definition of the work? Because I want to take you to the element called work ethics. So the word ethics derived from a Greek word ethos, which means character. And if I take you a little back, what we have discussed, character, mannerism, behavior, these are also part and essential of the interpersonal skills as well, because we need to communicate. And ethics tells us about our moral duties and obligations so that our behavior is right, truthful, and just. So interpersonal skills talk about, I suppose, a good behavior, good characteristics, mannerism. The ethics probably have a more focus on the moral duties as well. So moral duties and obligation. Being a chartered accountant, we are also governed by the code of conduct as well, and that defines our moral conduct as well. That solicitation is banned, and so many other things, which have chartered accountant institute have banned as well. So we need to perform our act within those ethos, within those ethics as well. And it may not necessarily also, because you need to demonstrate as a chartered accountant every day ethics. For example, I have been in 20 years in this profession, and I don't recollect any single moment where I have not demonstrated my ethics. There are a lot of opportunities, people and clients have approached you for something which is unethical. So if you have a good principle and if you are bound by the code of conduct and good mannerism, good ethos, I turn down all those opportunities all year or long. And yes, people may feel that if you are a young chartered accountant, you can possibly make a compromise. But believe me, those compromises are going to hurt you in the future as well. So stick with the ethics, moral duties, behavior. Success will eventually come to you. So definition of work ethics, set of values which involves the right attitude, correct behavior, respect for others, and effective communication. So friends, the word, of course, correct behavior and right attitude has been highlighted up there as well. But something which I like to highlight is the effective communication. I suppose that's the most essential part which Indian Chartered Accountant, unfortunately, seems to have missing. They are communicating, but not effective. Essentially, work ethics regulate what an employee would be doing in different situations in the office. So if I put the, I suppose, in a working environment as well, there are certain traits, there are certain behaviors, there are certain acts which an employee is expected to do in different situations in office as well. For example, if there is a fire, unfortunately, that how the employee should react. There is a fire protocols as well. If there is a cyber crime, if there is a cyber attack, if a client calls you, the way you picks up the phone, the way you write the email. So these are all, together called the work ethics. But the larger picture is this is also part and parcel of the interpersonal skills as well. If you happen to have those interpersonal skills, I suppose, and you are very good at, you are bound to be good at work ethics. So work ethics is not the larger term. The larger term is the interpersonal skill. So top 10 work ethics, if I may ask, again, this is something we know it by heart: attendance, character, teamwork, appearance. And if I take a pause here, the appearance, this is something also very, very important. And this is where I also felt that the Indian Chartered Accountants have been scoring very, very poorly, because not only I work with a lot of people, across the globe as well. And appearance wise, also I found it whenever we have an interview, when we invite somebody, and also at the workplace as well. Some of the Indian Chartered Accountants don't come across very well on appearance. Nothing to do, I suppose, with their background, but it's just the way, we have never thought it. I also been more or less like you as well. Attitude, this is something has been very, very good, for the Indian Chartered Accountant. We like to work. But again, this is a little bit of culture difference as well. The way we demonstrate the attitude in Middle East or in UK or in Europe, or I suppose anywhere else in the world as well. So productivity, that's something also very much essential, because if you are not coming across well and you're not pulling the weight on the table, productivity also happens to be one of the good work ethics as well. And that requires not only polishing your soft skills, but also your technical skills as well. Organization skills, cooperation, how you get along with the others, respect, and the most important thing is the communication. So you see, that's the way I have highlighted it. So work ethics, even you might have been good in productivity, organization skills, cooperation, respect. And if you're not being able to communicate effectively, and communication doesn't mean the verbal communication. Here, what I mean is the writing emails, the memos, so many things, communication, the gestures, the body language, I suppose, the way you interacted, how you reciprocate with someone as well. So this is where we as an Indian Chartered Accountant, I suppose in our initial year, we score very, very poorly compared to the other part of the Chartered Accountant community, wherever they come from, be it from India, be it from Pakistan, or be it, from other part of the world as well. So this is where I believe we need an effort. Hopefully by the end of this session, we should be able to come up a little better. Interpersonal relationships. So what we discuss, interpersonal relation or interpersonal skills, what they are, why do we need it? And communication happens to be one of the integral part for that as well. But communication alone is not required. Why do we need, I suppose, interpersonal skill is to maintain those relationships. And what are those relationships? Reciprocal social and emotional interaction between two or more individuals in the environment. So we have seen it through that reciprocal, this that you are also talking to me, I'm talking to you as well. And the classical example of communication or interpersonal skill is happening at the moment. Not able to speak with me, but I'm speaking from my side, and then we are interacting. There is an interaction going on. Close association between individuals who share common interest and goal as well. This happens at the work site. Why you are a close association with your partners, directors, clients. There is something common. The common is the audit opinion, the income tax returns, VAT return, or in due diligence or financial advisory reports. So there is a close association between internal and external stakeholder for a common cause, and the goal has to be at the end in the report. So what are the forms of interpersonal relationships? So again, as I said, like we should not get carried away that it's only the work, friendship, family and kinship, professional relationship, love, marriage, casual, brotherhood, acquaintance. So these are all the form of interpersonal relationship. So which would mean is there is not a single moment we can relax. We are always bound by the relationship. And I suppose if you are married and if you have children, you can possibly sense how the mood swing when you come at home after a hard day of work, and then you do not speak much with your children or your wife, and how do they feel? So they feel offended. Why they feel offended? Because there's a common goal and a cause as well, and that's also the interpersonal skills as well. So once you master the art of interpersonal skills, you will be good in all those interpersonal relationships as well. Often I have seen that the accountants or the professional, they happen to be very, very good at work, but when it comes to their social life, they're not very good. So being a good professional, we have to be all around good in interpersonal skills, communicating widely with the audience, be it a stakeholder at home or be it a stakeholder at outside. Why do we need it? We have discussed it, I suppose, the number of times as well, but just to again reflect on the cause as well, personal development. Why do we need it? Because everybody should develop. So at my stage as well, I keep on developing almost every day. I read it, take the feedback, and try to learn and develop myself. Growth and enjoyment, of course, everybody would need the growth part. For example, I started my own work now, being worked with the Big Four, GT, Baker Tilly, and so many firms. But why? I've started it because I like to have a growth and rather, more as an enjoyment. Sense of security, this is something, if you tend to perform very, very well at job, you are likely to stay at job. And your clients would also stay if you are running your own practice as well. And perhaps, I suppose, at home, you will also feel more secure if you speak well, I suppose, with your family. Context of understanding. So when I'm talking to you and if you are nodding and if you are following me, you would be able to get the maximum message, even if it's a one-way communication happening at this stage. But at the real context, when two people are speaking with each other, interpersonal skills come across very, very well in terms of understanding. Interpersonal needs, this includes, I suppose, our needs to get along with the people, social needs, and establishing personal identity. If somebody speaks good, if somebody is good in negotiation, coming across well, appearance is good, then you maintain your own brand. And some of the sessions I've run in the past as well, the personal branding and networking also. And that's very, very important if you want to come up as, I suppose, as a unique person or having your own USP, then you need to have a good interpersonal skills, which is all around required as well. So again, this is with the help of some sort of graph. So you see the self is something like you and me, one-to-one group members. So as you see, all work is done through relationships. And you may not believe, I don't know what your age group is, but as you grow older, and if you are doing your own practice, the personal relationships are the most important thing. For example, I'm running my business across in 3 time zone. I don't advertise myself too much. All the work which I get comes through my relationship. And these relationships, I have established it over the years, 20 years down the line based on the interpersonal skills, communication, smiling, humor, helping each other. And that's it. So people remember you. So the whole work is done through relationships. So relationship is the most important element in life. And how do you maintain and establish the relationship is by having a good interpersonal skill set. So being a manager, being a leader, this is something we have discussed it with the help of pictures. You see, we need it on every other day to gain competitive advantage internally, externally, and with the stakeholders as well. So when you have submitted a tender, for example, or you are pursuing an opportunity with the potential customer, so you are trying to take an advantage externally. Internally also, when you are pushing yourself for your promotion with your boss, you're trying to take a competitive advantage internally as well. But if you happen to have a good relationship with your customer, with your boss, you are likely to get more success. And why do manager, leader, partners, they need it? It helps us in understanding self. So the self-assessment also become much easier. Building a positive, functional, multidisciplinary team. If you happen to be the leader also, the communication and interpersonal skills help as well. Improving your self-communication, coordination, and cooperation. And the most important part is the improved decision-making and problem-solving as well. So you would have a lot of options at your disposal. You will be able to take a good decision and solve the problem also. And why do we need to solve the problem? To gain competitive advantage internally, externally with the stakeholders as well. So at the end of the day, being a chartered accountant, we are looking to acquire more business if you are practicing or serving our clients. And if you happen to be on a job as well, to get promotion, bonus. I suppose the big part which is missing other than the money is the recognition as well. So if you have a good interpersonal skills, you will come across well. You will be able to highlight the merits, the value addition which you've been making for the business, or I suppose the firm as well, if you speak and communicate well also. So when and where interpersonal skills are required at workplace, I suppose this is something we have discussed it while working in the group, socializing at workplace, building and maintaining relationships, listening and questioning. So we are going to spend a bit of time in listening also, giving and receiving feedback. So this is something we have been scoring very, very poorly, I have seen, and including myself in most of my time, I've spent abroad as well. I struggle in asking for the feedback and giving the feedback as well, because that's not the culture, we've been grown up. But in the Western part, I suppose giving the feedback and asking the feedback, this is essentially part and parcel at workplace. So if we internally in teams, across the teams, within the team, and if I see externally as well, so externally also with supply, with customer, with the stakeholder. So we need these skill set. And as I said earlier also, we need this skill set more often at social gathering, home also, not only at the work as well. Why interpersonal skills are needed? We have discussed it quite a lot now. Relationship, productivity, liking by others, active listening, feedback, leadership skills. So you see that this is very much essentially part and parcel of my day-to-day activity. If I'm poor at interpersonal skills, possibly I'm finding it very, very hard to sell my services as a chartered accountant, coming across not well with the family, coming across not well with the stakeholder, be it internal or external, which is the reason why I suppose we struggle to establish our practice, or I suppose to go it as well. At workplace also, we had a number of challenges. So the most important part, we've been emphasizing is been on communication. So all interpersonal skills are very, very important, but one of the most important one is the communication. And why the case so? We see it now. So if you see the role of communication, why this is more important? Verbal, face-to-face, telephone, and presentation. So at the moment I'm presenting yourself, and if I'm not presenting it, not taking the proper pauses, and not coming across well, you may lose an interest. So communication is very vital. Be it face-to-face, telephone, and telephone also, often we make a mistake that we think that, we are not able to see somebody else's face. But believe me, from here on, when you speak on telephone, try to smile the way you would have a smile if somebody is talking to you in person. And the other person on the other side of the receiver of the phone would feel that gesture as well. And pauses telephone, because often we speak one-way communication very, very fast as well. So try to use these small, gestures, antidotes as well. You will find it, your communication skill would also improve in telephone as well. Writing, emails, books, and memo. This is where we score also very, very poorly, including myself. And luckily now there are so many helps in the form of artificial intelligence. For example, ChatGPT is there, AI is there. So you can possibly use those to enhance your writing skills. In my time, they were never been there. I had so much struggle when I moved to London. And why the case so? Because there is, if I give you the small example, we write often kindly in India. So kindly means please. But when you write kindly in UK, they feel this is like an order. So the best word they feel so is please. So these are small adjustments you have to make along when you work in international environment. And nowadays, so much Grammarly is there. So your punctuation, you use all these softwares and tools. Non-verbal gestures and body language. This is something we score very, very poorly. And gestures and body languages, and there is a cultural difference also. For example, the way we speak in India and the way people speak in the western part of the world, there are some gestures that may feel offensive also. So we need to be culture sensitive, and body languages and gestures. So for example, if I'm talking to you, or if I'm presenting something, if I'm on a telephone as well, and if somebody is yawning, not giving the attention, not, I suppose, asking the open questions, rephrases, so people may feel you're not interested in my conversation. So we need to be gestures, nodding the head. This is body language, the positive body language come across. And if you apply these things, you're effectively going to build the relationship with your stakeholder. It may not necessarily the first time or the second time or the last time as well. And this is like should be incorporated in your body. So your body should give the positive gestures and visualizations as well. So in the form of graphs, maps, and chart as well. There could be endless graph, but if they have no meaning and if they are not presented well, I guess the visualization will not stand as well. And why do we need it? Being a chartered accountant, we produce a lot of reports, due diligence, financial advisory, where we include the graphs also. The graph has to be meaningful. And the best, easiest thing, which I do often as a part of my role as well, I think from the perspective of my receiver, how the report is going to be received by the stakeholder, exception reporting, graph. If I'm not there with them to present that report, will they be able to understand the report and the context as well? This question you start asking yourself as you go older in the profession as well. And then you will find out that you need to simplify the language, you need to simplify the graph as if you are not there. And in case, if I were to explain as an auditor as well, the way you need to document your audit working paper is an experienced auditor would be able to re-perform the entire work without you. The same thing applies, this is nothing but as a communication. So communication is the key, and that's not me, I'm telling you. There's a lot of people have said before me. For example, these happen to be the very big people. Elizabeth is a lifeline of any relationship. You can change your word by changing your words. Remember, death and life are in the power of the tongue as well. And I suppose the most important one is the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has already taken place. George Bernard Shaw as well. So this is all the misconceptions and good thing about the communication. And it's a lifeline of any relationship, power of the tongue. And sometimes I suppose we illusion that, it has already been taking place as well. So what does it mean is that we should not take anything granted. You have to work harder on the interpersonal skills, communicate, effectively. I suppose the best word is you need to be on your toes if you really want to be successful as a chartered accountant. So compromise, communication, and consistencies are needed in all relationship, not just the romantic one. So what we have seen relationships are different relationships, personal, social relationship. We need all these elements, not only at work, but also in social life as well. But if we were to talk about more about the work also, these are very, very important. And believe me, nothing works without the relationship. And being a chartered accountant, I suppose this is the most important element. And what you can get through is a lot of not only the work, referral, a little bit of favor, I suppose people would give you because they know you from the past also. So relationship is really, really very, very important. And who has also said it? It's not only, we are saying it. What Gandhiji has said about the communication, which I suppose is very vital in nowadays as well, but maintenance of relationship, enrichment of personhood, openness, flexibility. So this is not only me saying it or probably the rest of the world, is that Gandhiji has also said that communication has been very, very vital. Why the says open, flexibility, and personhood as well, which is nothing is just enhancing of brands. often people, think that communication happens to be only is like something like a verbal or interpersonal skills. Yes, this is very much true as well. I'm finding it hard, I suppose, to hold that. But what I meant is there are monetary losses also. And if you see that there are a number of studies performed, poor communication has costed 12,000, dollar per employee. Bad study finds it 1.2 trillion annually. So this is there is a recent study performed by Grammarly, 2024 State of Business Communication, and they come up with very shocking facts. As business leader reports, effective communication leads to 64% boosted customer satisfaction and raised employees' confidence. So that's where we are, where everybody acted so well, and they have a very good communication, effective communication. And again, I want to take you, I suppose, to some of the slides back as well. Effective communication may not necessarily be the verbal communication. Writing, branding, I suppose social media is one of the communication form as well. How do you come across well on LinkedIn? How do you come across well on Facebook, Instagram, and your advertisement as well? And within the business community, within the setup as well, how you're writing the email, how you're responding those emails, how you are attending it. So these are all effectively the effective communication in a workplace as well. So these are the good signs. But what happened? Meanwhile, poor communication leads to 40% decreased productivity, extended timelines, increased cost as well. So if the morale is not good, if you're not responding well, in time for your emails and action, your business is likely to lose money. And this is the classical example. And if we were to see it again as a comparison, so decrease is stressed also. Communication also problem can also increase the stress as well. And this has been highlighted, especially in the Western world. After work hours, if you get an email which requires an action that increase your stress level. I have worked across the globe and I have seen it and witnessed it. And even nowadays, because I work in 3 time zones, so sometimes comes from Canada side or probably the Singapore side or Indian side. So this is where you will need to choose your working hours, increase productivity, increase work satisfaction if there is a good communication all around. And if it happens to be a poor communication, it increases stress, decrease work satisfaction, decrease confidence. And sometimes we should ask a question that, for example, the big 4 firms are there, or the top rated workplaces are there. Well, why would people leave those workplaces? If they are paying good salaries, I suppose their name is in the market as well, the good perks. But why would people leave one big 4 and they go to the other big 4? For example, I too tend to work with all the big 4 firms in the world as well. But why do I leave it? Sometimes people, may leave it for a location or I suppose a promotion. But most of the time, what I found it, they left the organization because of the poor communication. Because of, I suppose, they've been not dealt well at the workplace. And why the case so? Is the case is the lack of interpersonal skills from the employer's perspective as well. So communication has been very, very vital, not only from the perspective, but I suppose at all level, increase productivity, moods, and growth as well. So this is study, if you may need it, I'll share with the committee, they can pass it to you as well. This is a good study. You should read it, the full study also. So the communication process, I suppose this is something we've been seeing since our childhood. I guess the sender encoding, channel decoding, receiver, and the feedback as well. So the most important element is the message. Needs to be clear, needs to be perceived clear, decoded, receiver, and the most important part, which often we forget, even being the seasoned professional, is the feedback. We don't often give the feedback. Feedback may not necessarily, I suppose, is the gesture, sometimes in the writing also, and body languages as well, as we have seen also. So we come to the most important part. We have discussed about the communication being the very, very essential part of interpersonal skills, but somewhere where the Indian chartered accountants are scoring poorly, and I suppose over the years they've scored poorly when it comes to the international workplaces, is the power of listening. I also been the victim of the same as well, and I've learned this, I guess, by burning my hands. So why do we need a listening skills, and what's of listening? Is not the voice that commands the story, is the air. So the way I'm perceiving the story. The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. So we always focus that, what the speaker is saying, but there are some hidden messages. Sometimes, the body gesture is there. Sometimes, as I said, like, you need to watch the people also. So these gestures, body languages, that's also part of the communication. If you're able to read this, the body language, the gestures, the hand movement, you would be able to understand the hidden messages also. And that, again, very much part of the interpersonal skills. So thought of the hour, the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. So often we wait for our chances to speak. We like to jump in a conversation. Why the case is? Because we listen to reply. So while the conversation is going on, I only like to focus. Generally, this is the case. Is the element which is important for me, something which I like to hear. But that's a very bad habit that kills the relationship. We also see with the help of the model as well, how possibly we can develop the interpersonal skills. So from here on, try to have an active listening. And the way it works actually, because I meet with a lot of people every day, so you cannot retain most of the things which go through your mind. So you need to develop a practice of, I suppose, filtering. So yes, keep focusing it, but try to retain something which is important for you as well. But that's an art, you will learn it. But from here on, please try to listen actively and with a gesture that you are following it up. So percentage of the time in communication, you may be surprised what you're going to see. So we spend time in polishing ourselves that, we write a very good email, a memos, but unfortunately, that's only needed 9% of the time. Reading 16% of the time, speaking 30%. But the most important part is happen to be the listening. And listening may not necessarily need, I suppose, you may have a good English or you need a formal background. Being a chartered accountant, most of these financial terms are very well known to us. So we just need to apply a little bit, I suppose, more proactiveness, become a good listener. So if I share my personal experience with you, nowadays, I don't read too many books, or I don't even go and search, I suppose, the articles as well. What I try to listen, how the case is, because I put it like a podcast while I'm driving, while I'm running, while I'm, I suppose, moving in plane or trains or taxis, and I listen things. And believe me, it helps because it's the same message you are getting across when you read the book. So if you activate your listening skills, you tend to learn more. And nowadays, there's a way a lot of people are coming across with the podcast for chartered accountant, for poetries, and for so many moral boosters as well. Try to maintain a habit, try to develop a habit of active listening. You will find enriched. Active listening requires wide, defined intent to listen, focus on speaker, verbal and non-verbal exchanges, feedback loop to ensure accuracy as well. That's what we have discussed earlier also. So intent is the most important thing. We need the intent, verbal and non-verbal encouragers. So we have seen it, the gestures, I suppose, the nodding the head as well, making eye contact also, blinking it, showing the positive sign that you are interested in the conversation as well. And the most important part is the feedback loop to ensure accuracy. So keep asking the open-ended or closed-ended, or rather, I suppose, more an open-ended question, keep raising. And this also helps you getting the confidence also. Active listening. So listens, feeling. You are in a conversation, try to demonstrate the feeling. May not necessarily, I suppose, what you feel inside in a truth sense as well, but just to show a positive intent, that gestures, your eye movement, that looking at the speaker, if somebody is speaking, giving the respect. So somebody would feel who is speaking, they were engaged. Questions also in a conversation, keep asking the questions, and the questions may not necessarily an intelligent question. Often an intelligent question is the most dumbest question. So keep asking the question, try to ask, open-ended question. May I ask this? Okay, can you explain me this again? This shows your intent, this shows your involvement. Reflect paraphrases as well. So this is the most important thing where we score very, very poorly as well. If I don't understand anything, or if I understand something in a way, my mind perceive, I should ask this or rephrase it. If somebody is explaining, let's suppose on an IFRS 9, and they talks about the expected credit loss or probability of default, then you can ask it, okay, I understand it, probability of default is the money which goes wrong if something, an X factor happen. Is that my understanding right? And the speaker, I suppose, on a technical topic, would explain it. And if you were to ask a question on, I suppose, this subject as well, you can present yourself in your own language, reflect by rephrase as well. This is very, very important. And that helps you to retain most of the conversation part also. And again, this is somewhere not documented, but I have learned over the years that if any session you tend to revise within 24 hours, I suppose you are likely to retain 75% of the content as well. And if you revise in 48 hours, probably you'll remember 50% of the contact and here on. So the way I try to do it, and if I attend a session, meeting, brainstorming, any session, and whenever I get a moment in the evening, I try to go and reflect myself. Okay, what I have understand it, or this is yes, this is good for me, this is bad for me, this is something good for my business, what I need to do it. So jot down and document it as well. And nowadays we are using so much phones and so many tablets and so many technical, equipments around. It's very, very easy. And I also start using a lot of voice messages for myself as well. So whenever I learn, I need to myself or record the voice message, and then I listen it at the time when I'm driving the car also. So these are the ways you try to remember things and demonstrate the active listening as well. So again, with the help of the graph, what I've tried to explain the intensity. So you need to demonstrate, you need to have it intensity. And a lot of people are there in this session because they are intense about grooming and developing themselves. Empathy, this is something we'll come back as well, but acceptance and responsibility. So what is the empathy? Empathy, I suppose, this is something stepping into the shoes of somebody else. So if I happen to be the speaker and you are listener at the moment as well, so empathize what I'm about to say, what I'm sharing my experience as well. So think from my perspective as well. But this happens in the conversation at the workplace as well when you are communicating with your client. So you start empathizing if there is a tax penalty notice come. So what the client has been going through with the phase, that first consequences may end up paying a lot of money. I suppose he may feel that he might be put into the jail as well. So you think from the perspective of somebody else who is speaking to you. Acceptance, the acceptance is the most important element, that two people, when they're talking to each other, they may have a different social background, and you need to accept the people they are in any conversation, and the responsibility as well. So you responded with your responsibility, and this process carries on as well. One of the most important thing, which often I found it not only in the Indian chartered accountant, I suppose as a person, which is the lack of empathy in the conversation. So I thought that I should discuss a little bit about the empathy. So what is the empathy? If I were to explain it, ability to stand in another's shoes, to feel what is like there, and to care about making it better if it hurts. So in a literally layman's word is stepping into another's shoes, thinking from the perspective how the person is going through in his mind. Hypothesis we make about other person. So if based on combination of emotional and cognitive information, so sometimes the moment if somebody walks into the meeting, we walk into the meeting and then we say that somebody is wearing a jacket or a tie, or I suppose, sophisticated gadgets as well, we make a different assumption. If somebody is wearing not a good clothes and not good hair, that we make a different interpretation, we make a different image. So hypothesis is good or bad as well. And there's a journal say that 3 to 5 seconds you make a presumption about somebody the moment he starts talking to you as well. And we need to be master the art as well. Sometimes these bias does not help us, because the moment we start making this biasness, we may not get along with somebody with the conversation, and you may lose an interest or somebody may lose an interest. So try, make an attempt to experience the inner life of another while away by, I suppose, how somebody is looking or projecting themselves. Give a moment and empathize. Try to listen, have an active, good conversation. And then you will be able to find and understand somebody else's perspective as well. And this is very much essential, the part and partial at work and workplace and in home also, because normally we don't empathize and we jump to a conclusion very, very soon. If that's the case, is you may not be able to build the relationship, and a lack of good interpersonal skills, or I suppose the relationship, would harm you in the future also. So try to empathize this. Why the case? So if you see the picture as well, if somebody comes to you now, think from the perspective what's his perspective as well. And there is a difference, why the word is empathy, not the sympathy. So sympathy means is there. So this is not there, but I am empathizing with you, which means I am trying to understand what you've been going through with it. What's your thought process for coming across? But I'm not sympathizing with you. So empathy generally has been very, very successful for my success, because I try to understand the pain point of client, what they've been going through with it, come up, the solutions of those pain points, and the client remember me for long. Good habits of empathic people: cultivate curiosity about strangers. So why I happen to, I suppose, have a very big, if I may say so, I suppose, a fan following on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or I suppose, wherever I go, because I have a genuine interest in understanding wherever I meet people, to, talk with these people, the culture, the society they come from, their interests as well, challenges prejudice and explore commonalities. So when I see people, I am not biased with their race, religion, color, where they come from. And I try to find out what is common between us as well. Try another person's life, listen hard and open up, inspire mass action and social change, and develop an ambitious imagination as well. So these are the sign of good empathic people. But at workplace, perhaps something which is very, very important is the prejudice. So when you come across people from different part of the world, it happens, when I started working in London, for example, there are people from China, there are people from Canada, US, South Asia, Australia. And I suppose if you have the prejudice that you can't work with certain nationalities as well, this does not help. And then you lack the interpersonal skills and your relationship do not blossom. Just to give you, I suppose, a heads up also, because when we work away, most of the time we come across, with the Pakistani or Sri Lankan chartered accountants as well. And they're very, very professional. So if we have a prejudice against anybody, we may not be able to work also. So these are the good signs we have to exhibit. And if you come across a good empathic, you are likely to succeed in the relationship and develop and maintain those relationships for long also. So we have discussed, if I take a moment of pause here, because we've been discussing, I suppose, a lot on the interpersonal skill side. So we discussed about the interpersonal skills. What are those relation skills set, and why do we need those? What are the interpersonal skills, interpersonal relationships also, and communication and listening? Why these are the two most important integrants for those as well. We've also discussed a bit about the work ethics. Work ethics is also combined to the interpersonal skills as well. Appearances, communication happen to be the most important one as well. But what are the other barriers, if I may ask it? For example, why do we not come across well in any relationship? Is because there are social, cultural, personal, situational. These are the barriers. And if I would say like social, cultural, what are these? Languages, values, and culture as well. And this is something when I moved almost 20 years back, for example, I could not speak. I might be able to speak good English, but I wasn't able to write a good English. Or perhaps the way, the British people, they like me to write in English at that time. So that was a language barrier. And nowadays, there are so many movies you are watching in India, Hollywood movies or British movies. So you're picking up the accent as well very, very easily. In my time, there wasn't the case as well. But the way they used to speak and the way I used to speak is different. So I find it very hard sometimes to get what they're speaking. So that was definitely a language barrier. Values, so our values are very different. For example, the way I have grown up in India and the way you have grown up in India also, we have a different value system. Somebody who is living in US, they have a different value system as well. Our culture, their culture is different as well. So sometimes that may present a disadvantage, or I suppose a difficulty in getting along with the relationships as well. But if you were to be successful, and in 20 years down the line, I've worked so very, very hard, I get along with the people easily, be it British, US, Canada, Australia, because there is so much common between us. And then I worked and polished myself that all these questions come across when I meet somebody, with somebody from Australia. Cricket could be the one talk, weather could be the second talk. So there are things, when you become a good communicator, there's all comes in your body as well. Person, empathy. So if the lack of empathy, if you do not care about others, poor listening habits, fear, confidence. So there are, so many personal barriers we may have. We may have it, and if you don't work on those personal barriers, we cannot build the relationships. And this is something, again, I have tried and tested on myself as well. For example, my listening was poor, and as I've grown up, in India, we only like to listen to the expect that so that we can reply quickly. So I work very, very hard in active listening. And I've also demonstrated one example that why my skills set on listening has been helping, because the podcast and so many things I'm listening, that's also helping. Situational, sometime social and personal may not be there as well. Hierarchy, for example. In this part of the world, I have not seen it. This is happening, like being in a senior, you can talk to the partner directly as well. But somewhere, maybe in India and somewhere other part of the world as well, there is hierarchy problem as well, that you cannot communicate directly with CEOs. Online, I guess this is something which has been very, very difficult to establish a rapport and connection, which, for example, I'm not able to hear you and you are only listening to me. This is situational. So if I'm not able to come across well, you may lose the interest. So online also, present a barrier. I'm not able to maintain a good relationship by one with everybody. But I suppose with the experience and passage of time I spend it, I try to come across well and present my session. Conflicting messaging. So when, for example, you are getting the messages from two, three part, and one is talking about one thing, the other is talking about the other thing, then I suppose that also pose a barrier as well. This often happens in an office environment as well. And the source, that plays a very, very important part as well. So you see on internet, whatever you hear, I suppose there is a grapevine in the office, may not necessarily always been the true as well. So there are a number of barriers. I've just tried to explain it with some examples like social, cultural, personal, and situational. And you see, they are overlapping, and that is very much happening in any relationship, be it at home or I suppose at workplace as well. But what's the best way? How we can possibly overcome those barriers? This is what we are going to see with the two models at our disposal. So interpersonal skills, why do we need it? Because we like to develop ourselves. Why we like to develop? Because we like to be a leader. We like to emerge as a good profession all around. And why do we need to be a good profession? To make money as opposed to make the name, and so many other things, and why we end up becoming a chartered accountant. So Johari window, that's one of the model. This is like model or a text on the relationships with others. This is developed somewhere around 1955 and has been widely used in the world as well. I also make the use as well to develop myself. And what are the scenarios is understanding how we communicate with yourself and others. So how you talk to yourself also is very, very important. And how much do you know about yourself? That's, I suppose, a question you should ask, at least from here on. Understanding how you present yourself to yourself and others as well. Understanding how you perceive yourself and others perceive you, and understanding actions and motivation. So here, what you see the emphasis is understanding yourself. So we don't know, so many things about ourselves as well. The only thing which we know about when somebody says things about us, you are good in accounting standard, you are good in soft skills, you are good in this, and you are good in that. So, and you may know that, yes, I've been speaking very well on accounting standard, or I am the expert of IFRS 17. But how about you may be the expert of the other accounting standard as well, because you have read them. You may have a lack of confidence in your abilities, but somebody else may have judged it, may have sensed it. I can potentially be good on those standards as well. And this is very much happened in my career as well. When I started speaking on standards, I used to read just for myself. But for example, Bahrain chapter gave me the opportunity to run the IFRS clubs, and I started speaking, and then one session, second session, third session. Then I started getting confidence, and then that I know other standards as well. And eventually I set up the fast practice, and I end up performing a lot of work on IFRS 17, which is the most difficult standard on earth as well. So this is something was not known to me. And the other part which I can say, for example, these training sessions as well. Uh, Others see that the potential that I can come across as a good facilitator. They gave me the chance. I started speaking, and here I am. So these Johari window, what we see with the examples, and I suppose with the perspective, how this model has been designed, you will come across so many things about yourself if you apply it properly. So hands-on exercise with a window house with 4 rooms. So there are 4 rooms, which we'll see in the next slides, used for self-help and growth. self-awareness, personal development, improving communications, group dynamic, team development, intergroup relationship as well. So it's all about development. And what are these are? So we can take a little bit of pause here as well. If you see from my left side, I know you know. So some certain things I know, for example, that I'm good in IFRS. I'm IFRS 17, IFRS 9, beat any IFRS. And probably the world knows now that I know and you know as well. I don't know, you know. So there are certain elements about myself that which my wife may know, my bosses may know, my clients may know, but I may not be aware. These are called the blind spots. So this is something I'm not well aware. For example, where I'm taking the pauses, I might not me need to blink my eyes. I might need to move my gestures, or maybe anything I guess which I don't know, but you may have observed it. The left extreme left now, if you see down the line, I know you don't know. So for example, some of you may not know that I am a poet also. Some of you may not know that I write the stories as well. Some of you may not know that I also act, along with the traitors and the movies as well. Because this is something I kept it within myself, hidden secrets. And I don't know and you don't know. So there is one element about ourselves which is not known to anybody. So this is where I may have a potentially talent and you may have a potentially talent as well, or you may have a development needs, but I have not come across, to identify that need, or perhaps, somebody who's working with me, they could not find about myself as well. So we take a little bit of pause. I wish that you probably analyze yourself that how much at least know about yourself. I know and you know. So I know you know. So I hope, I suppose, you may be able to find out certain facts as well. I know you don't know. So maybe try to work on your hidden talent. Hidden talent could be at workplace, hidden talent could be a personal as well. And I don't know and you don't know. So this is the thing, we'll see how possibly we can find out more about ourselves. So we have been through with communication, active listening. There is no rocket science behind it. And the first part is known to self and blind spot. So for example, not known to self, but somebody knows it. So you keep on asking the feedback. And where do you ask the feedback? From your trusted fellows, your colleagues, somebody at your peer level, somebody, your bosses, your client and customers, formal way, informal way, social gathering. So your blind spot tends to be less. If you want to become a good professional, you need to have a very narrow blind spot. For example, in 20 years in the profession, I would say that my blind spot is getting smaller and smaller, but there are so many elements of life I'm still learning. For example, when I started running my own practices, there are different challenges. When I was the CEO of the firm where I was employed, there was a different challenges. But I keep learning and exploring about those blind spots as well. And mask, if I may ask, so something not known to others. If I take you there as well, I know you, you don't know. So for example, might be a lot of talents which I may have it. And if you don't know about my talents, how would you come across, well with me? So I need to announce my capabilities in a way. If I'm good in technical skills in certain elements where I can possibly add value in the organization, I need to come across. So you probably make yourself aware that yes, I'm good in standard, I'm good in presentation, I'm good in this and that. So the talent which you may possess it, try to use it and try to announce it as well, so that the gap would be minimized as well. If I take you again here also, the self-discovery. So the most important element and the crux of this model is to eliminate the blind spot so that you should know more about yourself and discovery also. So I have been, for example, if I were to put my life, the last 20 years or probably last 10 years on this chart, there has been so much discovery, perhaps which I have never felt so. IFRS is, for example, is one of these. I would have never imagined when I left India that one day I would be the expert of IFRS, giving the sessions, taking so much transformation on IFRS, which is a very technical subject, and some of the most difficult standards on earth. For example, IFRS 17, IFRS 9, and I probably explained, I suppose, with a cup of coffee as well, most of my client. But that's a self-discovery. in a way that was unknown to me, but a lot of people have given me the comfort, give the opportunity, and I tend to minimize this. So this is very important. From here on, pick somebody whom you trust at workplace, or I suppose in the social gathering. Ask an open feedback about your blind spot. And sometimes you may feel offensive that some of the blind spots, I suppose, which you were not aware, and you might be making, I suppose, a very silly things, or I guess a bad gestures, or using a bad language. So try to, I suppose, jot it down and work on your ethics, work on, I suppose, your language, body languages, gestures, writing emails. So minimize that blind spot. The most important element is try to find out some of the facts which you may not know as well, and how you manage to find out it by putting yourself on the challenging situations. When you find out in a client environment, for example, there's a request in the email, can you help in financial due diligence? For example, I wasn't good in advisory, but I started taking the interest. I started learning the financial advisory, due diligence, and here I am. I'm started selling those services as well. So pushing yourself, and then you will find that you may have some hidden talent. And I have no hesitation in telling it could be the God gifted also. So the next model, which is called the transaction analysis, Eric has founded it somewhere in 1950s, and that's where I suppose most of these management studies have come across in the 1950s and 1960s also. So this model compared to the Johari window is a little different, because that one relied actually on the 4 boxes, known, not known. This relies more on the relationships, and how this is different is, so this is called the psychoanalytic, and this is a very difficult word to pronounce it as well. I also tangle it sometime as well. What does it mean in a layman word? Usual pattern of behavior, emotions, and thoughts. So this is a theory and matter of therapy where in social interactions are analyzed to determine. And what to determine? Ego state of the communicator for understanding behavior. So what Eric believed, whenever we speak, there happens to be just the 3 stage of our ego: adult, child, and parent. So we behave in every communication. These are the only 3 ego states. For example, parent. So at this stage, I suppose after a few slides, you will come across, and you will also understand what I'm behaving at the moment is I'm behaving like an adult or a parent, because I want to give something, to the society, to the younger chartered accountant. So I am trying to act like a parent. And I'm also acting like an adult as well. If somebody at par level, 20 years, 30 years experience, they have come and join just to listen and I suppose sharpen their skill as well. So I'm trying to be an adult here in this conversation as well. But what are these terms and how we behave? Let's see together. So transaction analysis, 3 ego states, as we have seen, is a pattern of feeling, experience, directly related to a corresponding consistent pattern of behavior as well. So when 2 person communicates with each other, so it's a pattern of feeling and experience. So transaction analysis means is stimulation. So 2 people communicate, 1 person initiates a transaction with a transaction stimulus. So I'm the one who asks a question, how are you today? Or why you look dejected? So I am the one who initiated the transaction with the transactional stimulus. Stimulus is, if you remember, in the recent Corona time, there was a stimulus package. So that was part of the Corona. There was the action by the government. Ask a question. This may triggers your brain. This may trigger some of your behaviors which you may have inbuilt in your body as well. So I'm initiating a transaction and it's putting an impact or reaction in your body. The person at whom the stimulus is directed will respond with the transactional response. So suppose I have asked a question that, why are you look dejected today? So I ask a question as a parent, because parent means caring. And if there's a co-worker at workplace, I see there is a pale face and he is not talking, he looks like dejected. I ask a question of a care, how a parent normally would have asked this question. How are you? Why you look so dejected? And if I want to continue that conversation, if I'm aware of the interpersonal skills and relationships, and the person would have responded it, I had a bad night, I could not sleep well. So thank you very much for asking. So this is the conversation between parent and adult, how an adult would behave on this question. And if I would have behaved like a child, for example, if I'm not aware about my behavior, and if I am not focusing, I suppose, to maintain the relationship, the work environment, I would have answered as a child. Normally, no, most of the people would do it like that. Why would you care? Go and do your work. Go to hell. So this is something like a parent has asked the question, a child a response. So the conversation would end. So I would not ask any question. But in the previous example, where a parent and adult conversation is happening, so I asked a question, why you look dejected? I had a bad sleep. I could not sleep. That's why, I'm dejected. So as a parent, I would ask a question that, do you need any help? Do you need a coffee, tea? Shall I do something for you? And the person would say, thank you very much for asking. Can you just take this email forward? Can you do this job? Again, that shows that you have maintained a very good relationship, and your relationships are helping. But and if I take the other example, that if I behave like a child, I suppose the conversation would end there as well. So this is, at times looks very, very funny, but that's the way it is. Transaction with other people or internally with ourselves unconsciously activate our ego states in our transaction, which leads to conflict, negative emotions, pains, and etc. And why the case so actually? Because I cannot straight away pick up the ego state. For example, if somebody asks a parent ego question, and then which ego should I pick? Should I pick up the child ego to response or adult ego? So this is where you need to end up, working on your behavior pattern as well. At workplace, where the relationships are the most important as well, either you try to respond it with parent and parent, or parent and adult as well. And then you are likely to succeed in your relationship. So we'll see our ego state. So what are the parent, for example, parent ego state, behavior, thoughts and feeling copied from parents and parent figures as well. And how normally your parents behave it, please do this, don't do this. So this is how the parents, they always try to tell you the good things. This is how the parent is caring. Adult behavior, thoughts, and feeling are direct response to here and now. So this is probably the most matured stage, but behavior, thoughts, and feeling. And I guess they've been governed by your education, your experience as well. But that's what I would expect it is the most matured. And how normally a child would behave. Behavior, thoughts, and feeling are replayed from your childhood as well. And the best part, I suppose, to imagine this, think that, try to understand these ego stages that have a little bit of play at your workplace or with your known as well. Try to behave like a child. For example, I have a 6-year-old child, and I also have an 18-year-old daughter as well. Both are child, but when I interact with my 18-year-old daughter, I expect the response a bit of, adult, not from the child. But my 6-year-old son, whenever I interacted it, I expect that he would respond as a child. But to my surprise as well, sometimes he speaks like an adult as well. So we need to judge when we talk with two different people, being I'm the one who is leading communication, I started the communication. I also need to sense which ego state is somebody is responding it from. If I manage to understand it, the conversation goes further. With the help of some photos or examples, we'll see what are these now. So if I am in a parent state as well, so parent also have controlling parent and nurturing parent as well. For example, I happen to be more a controlling parent. For example, I tell my son and daughter as well, don't do this, not that. But my wife happens to be more nourishing parent, so she's the one who encouraging it, and that's how I suppose the relationship work. But any working relationship, I need to do the both the part. I could be a controlling parent, I could be a nourishing parent as well. So adult, this is just the matured state. This is the most perfect stage, I suppose. An adoptive child could be adopted child. No, little professor who is very, very annoying. I wonder it, which wants to explore all the time in the world. Is the natural child, which is the creative and free child as well. So when you respond as a child also, and if I'm asking question, I suppose as a nourishing parent, I would probably sense it that you are asking from a creative perspective as well. And I would next time when I'll ask the question and conversation, I would rephrase it and prolong that conversation as well. So this art can only comes with the practice, I suppose, with the identifying yourself at which stage may suit you better. For example, I am now happens to be the CEO, So most of the time people expect it, and I expect for myself to behave more on a parent side, which is, I suppose, a nourishing parent. I would encourage my employees, my I suppose peers as well to work better. So I would expect them to answer from the adult time, adult ego state. But sometimes I also get annoyed, customers, especially when the deadlines are missed or any unfortunate things have happened. So they may behave as a child as well. And if they behave as a child, then if I were to continue that conversation also, I console them and bring them from the child to the adult stage ego. So this is where also the relationship skills, would very much, interpersonal skills are very much required to understand as well. But in a normal sense, so who are the parents as well? And so parents, what they do, pointing index finger, arm folded, what are you doing? This is controlling parent. You ought to, that is controlling parent. Sympathizing, punishing, moralizing, judging, giving others, criticizing. So it's a part of the controlling and enriching parents as well. And these are the body languages and sign which you often see in your workplace as well, that sometimes your bosses or your seniors may be asking is, you should do this, you should not do this. So they are behaving in a parent state. And if I am an employee of theirs, I work as a junior to them, then I should understand that they are like a parent. I should not behave like a child when I respond to them. At least I should respond like an adult. So unless who are the adult, for example, in my opinion, based on what I have observed. So adult come across as a very matured person in a way that they have a thoughtful reasoning behind it. Active listener, blink their eyes every 2 to 5 seconds, speaks of probability. This is the most I suppose ideal situation from a relationship perspective. An adult may not necessarily that adult mean that you are 18 years or above. I'm just talking about your state of mind and ego as well. Sometimes, as I said earlier, my son also being a 6-year-old, but he behaves more like an adult because he present his opinion so well that in my opinion, and based on what, so you need to give respect to his thought process as well. And a straightforward facial expression, this is also very much important. When somebody is doing the work on a laptop and you walk it and you ask a question, do you know this, where this file is? He looks at you and said, yes, that's there. So the facial expressions helps. This conversation can go long as well, but the maturity levels. So the response is, he does not give you like response. He respond to your question. But if you want to prolong your relationship, and I suppose the conversation, you would still ask as a question as a parent, or you drop yourself at the adult ego zone. So the conversation would take place further as well. The child at his felt, I suppose this is the most funny thing about it. Natural child, curious, creativity, open and loving. So this is where I would rate myself that I always try to be a natural child and also keep on asking the question wherever I go. Little professor, curious and exploring. This is also, is there with everybody as well. And at the time, I suppose when you are in an interaction for a brainstorming and somebody is presenting you, you try to be a mixture of child, natural child, and little professor. Keep asking the question as well. An adoptive child is like guilty, afraid, depressed, and this is something we should avoid at workplace. And this is where I suppose your down shoulder, dejected faces, and these are the signs. But if you are behaving as a child as well, smiling, soft tone of voice, crying, having tantrum, this is something people can sense that. And childish like facial expressions as well. But something which is very, very important sometimes to behave as a child at workplace as well. Wow, hurrah, I wish, I feel. So these are when somebody is asking a question as a parent or as an adult, and if somebody shared a news, I have been selected for this award. Wow. So he asks as a question as an adult because he's explaining you, giving you the fact, matured, and then you expressed your joy. So this conversation will prolong. And let's suppose if somebody asks a question, I won the award, and then you adopted as an adoptive child, you said, to hell, what I supposed to do? The conversation would end. So it's a little tricky, I suppose, to understand it. But the best part is try to be like a natural child or a little professor. And if your ego state, always try to answer with the adult ego state, which is the sign of maturity. So think before you answer anything. So transaction analysis, the types of interactions, the transactions happening in between. We'll also see, we'll come back on the slide as well. The complementary, we have discussed it. So parent as child, I am asking as a nourishing parent, and then you are responding it, the conversation will prolong. Parallel is between parent to parent, adult to adult. This is a mature conversation. And crossed is for example, a parent, ego state asking question about your well-being, and as a child, you're not responding it well. The conversation would not take place. And angular and ulterior is this is a very complex type of transaction where there are psychological and social and needs, and the message may have a hidden message as well. For example, the same same thing which I said earlier, that I walk to a fellow employee or my junior, why you look pale, why you look dejected, and then he might had a fight in his family, or maybe he's going through with some sickness, and he may respond it in a way that I could not sleep it. Thank you very much for asking. I would never come across, I suppose, I'm never be able to find out what he's been going through. He might be suffering, he may have fever. And if I provoke more question, I will be able to find out, no, your eyes are okay, but you still look pale. Are you okay? Then he might say that I have a little fever. Can I take a day off? So this is a little different, but that comes, with the maturity. But somewhere we can practice, I suppose, from today onward is complementary and parallel conversation. So this is where I would encourage at workplace, at home, try to use that model and improve your relationships. And how the case so is complementary transaction. Adult, I noticed you went over budgeting on eating, and the adult matured participant will answer it. Wow, you are right. I got a little carried away this month. Will be more mindful next month as well. So matured conversation happening between the two adults. Complementary transaction. Somebody like the parent said, the child, I take care of you. How can I help? And feels like shit as well. So if somebody is low, and then the parent walk and then said, you're not good. Are you okay? And the child said, no, sorry, I'm not well. Then the parent said, caring said, okay, don't worry, I'll take care of it. So complementary transaction and the conversation would prolong as well. Cross transactions. I noticed you have went over budgeting, the first example as we have discussed it. Why are you checking my expenses? So if I were to behave like as a child, because this is where I don't wish this conversation and I feel offended and I'm not able to control my ego, I would answer it from my child ego, and which is the reason why the conversation would end, my relationship would impair, be it my peers, be it my bosses as well. So what I try to do it, this first example as we have seen it, I noticed you went over budgeting. I would have answered it in a way, thank you very much. I'll take care next time. Yes, I just get carried later away. So tips. So what we have discussed, friends, so far, we have been through with the interpersonal skills, the relationships, and the key elements happen to be the communication, listening. We have been through with the tools also, which identified through the windows about yourself and the relationship, and through the egos states as well. We have also discussed about the work ethics at workplaces as well. So whatever we have learned, there is an attempt, I suppose, to find out some of the best tips how we can possibly improve our interpersonal skills. The most important, and the most easiest bit is the smile, because we do not smile. And just to give you the flavor, smile also have a different sense. For example, in UK, everybody smiles when you walk in the garden, at the railway station, or anywhere, because that's the culture, smile. But I suppose when we smile at way back home in India, that might, I suppose, be a different case as well. So try to be a little cultural sensitive as well. Be appreciative. So appreciate the effort of others. Whosoever you are working it, show the gratitude. Attention, as we have seen it, I suppose that's very vital. In the form, whenever we are attending, we need to nod, we are body gestures, asking questions, and active listening. This is the most important part to develop the interpersonal skills as well. Bring people together. I suppose this is something wherever you have the ability to bring the people together, and this also helps in building relationships skill by having communications, active listening, and presenting what we have understand through the organization's skills also. Resolve conflict. At any workplace, so we found conflicts could be healthy conflict and unhealthy conflicts as well. And if you really want to come across well as a good interpersonal skill set person, you should work in resolving the conflicts. Communicate clearly So we have seen the importance of the communication, but something which is very, very important nowadays, which happens to be the chat GPT, at least that can help you writing good, effective messages as well. But communication may not necessarily the writing also. Remember the chart we have with the facial expressions, the emails, the graphs. This is also part of the communication as well. Humor. So like the smile, humor is something, bring a very good communication. It removes the communication barrier. For example, I find myself I good at humoring people, and humor may not necessarily, you need to bring it humor. This comes naturally. If you don't have that tool, try to work on it, but don't try to overuse it that you need to bring the humor, I suppose, in every conversation. Empathize and see on the other side. So we have seen, with the faces that step into the shoes of somebody else. When a clients call you, trying to understand the pain point he's been going through with it, empathize it, and then give the response. So this is where I suppose the Gandhiji's the teachings as well, if you see from the perspective of communication, lead by example, empathy, effective communication, adaptability, self-discipline. So this is all vital and very important in the recent times as well. And they are nothing but the integrants of the interpersonal skill set. So just last few slides, this is, I just like to emphasize a bit about the work ethics also. And this slide, if you may remember, we have seen it before also, attendance, productivity, communications, and all. So I brought it that these are the work ethics, top 10 work ethics. And this is something everybody knows it, being chartered accountant, I guess the value of the attendance. But just to reflect it, be at work every day possible. So try not to take, leaves. If you are taking the leave, inform your supervisor, because again, communication is the most important thing. Come to work on time as well. If you are punctual, believe me, that adds a lot of value. But nowadays, the definition of time has changed because there is so much online working happening. But still, I would expect that try to have a communication, let the people know that you are working on the cause as well, and you are available at the appropriate times also. Characters is moved to be praised and outstanding talent. Most talent could be the gift as well. But if you are not gifted, that you have to work very, very hard to build your character. Be dependable in your organization. People should depend on you. And how the case is when you come across well and build that trust. Be loyal. Speak positively about your company. And this is often I found it, I suppose, after some years when you've been working and you started cursing your employer and the organization, maybe a less pay or a tough working environment and so many other things. But try, I suppose, to show a gratitude, because at the end of the day, nobody is forcing you to at the workplace. You can always change at your work, but try to appreciate, and that's also make you a very good professional in the market. And again, that's a very good integral part, not only for the work ethics, but from the interpersonal skill sets as well. Teamwork, as we have seen it, why do we need to be a good team player? Because it's also been required as a part of the interpersonal relationship, but also from the work ethics perspective as well, the ability to get along, leadership abilities, and be contributing member, whatever has been asked and put in your plate, you should carry your weight as well and accept compromise. Recognition when to speak up the idea. So CCC, compromises. This is something we have seen as an also essential part, but may not necessarily to be a moral compromise. What the compromise mean is a little adjustments. Appearance, this is something we have discussed it earlier as well, that your shoes, your clothing, as per the need of the hour as well. If it's a jacket required, tie is required, or if it's a jeans is the day, I suppose, and normally we have like a Saturday or I suppose the last day in the week where casuals are allowed. But casual doesn't mean that, I suppose, you come across with a t-shirt with a fancy logos written on it. That's still would required, I suppose. Remember that you are a representative of your organization. How you dress and act can reflect on the organization as well. So, and this also happened when I was the part of the big organization like PwC and EY. So we have like a dress code when we go out in any event, I suppose on a marathon and all, there is a dress which called, we're having a logo on PwC. So they have dresses, and the classical example would be the Indian cricket team or any team you would see. Whenever they are practicing, they have a different t-shirt again with the logo. When they are traveling, they have a different logo. Logo may be the same, but they have a different dress code as well. But wherever you see them in one dress code, and that gives the message. This is at the end of the day is the team. Virat Kohli wear the same clothes, and so do I suppose a younger member of the team as well. So that is very important. And accept attitude. This is something the most important thing. If you really want to be success, not only from the work ethics perspective, but for any relationship to blossom, is listen to suggest, be positive, accept responsibility for your errors, move, and don't be dissatisfied all the time. I suppose this is the problem, that we expect too much from our life, and we are not putting, I suppose, a great effort. If I don't have the skill set, and if I'm not improving those skill set, I would probably never get the success as well. So don't be dissatisfied. Work on yourself. You agreed to work, pay hours, take pride in your work. So whatever work you do it, enjoy it and take a pride also. Do the thing the best you know how can. So respect, cultural sensitivity, we have discussed it. So traits of winning employees: work hard, carry out the order. So whatever I suppose been assigned, show respect. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. So if you do not like your work, I suppose at the first place, you're not likely to succeed. So enjoy your work. And of course, being a chartered accountant, we've been governed by numbers. But that's the way it is. I have run some other sessions in the past as well, that follow your passion. So if you have a passion as well, so at workplace, do your work properly. But then I suppose in a free time, follow your passions as well. You will be able to have a balanced growth. So tips to improve is the gratitude, not only from the work ethics perspective, not only from the interpersonal skills perspective, is don't complain too much. I suppose we have a tendency to curse and complain, and I suppose our workplace, our environment, or I guess wherever we've been working is, but that's not going to help unless we give a gratitude of wherever we are at this stage of life. So if I were to conclude, I suppose we have discussed interpersonal skills, and this is something we have seen in depth. What are those skill sets? We have discussed it also, the work ethics as well, from the perspective of the definition of ethics, the ethos, and how they're important at the workplace as well. Why the interpersonal skills? Because not only at the workplace, but all our social gatherings, social relationships, we need this skill set. And one of the most vital interpersonal skill set happened to be the communications. We have discussed the barriers. We have also discussed it, why communication and in what form they are very, very important for us. We have also discussed the interpersonal skills model as well, the Jory model and transaction analysis. And we have witnessed some of the tips, the developing interpersonal skills, and so do the work ethics as well. So if I just, I suppose, important part from here on, go back, I suppose, to these slides and see where you are. Communication effectively, listening effectively, body gestures effectively, and the most important, I suppose, try to find facts about yourself, and which is may be necessarily known to you, which may not necessarily known to you, by asking the feedback from your trusted, or I suppose your supervisors as well. And transaction analysis, the message to take place is, if you're not able to pick up the ego stage when somebody is asking the question, at least you start behaving from an adult ego, which will carry your conversation, I suppose, to the next level, and you will be able to gain a competitive advantage from your conversation. So I suppose that's the end from my side. I'm more than happy if you may have a question. So nobody can go back and start a new beginning, but anyone can start today and make a new ending. So if you want to follow, I suppose, if you may have a question, these are my details. So this is my email and LinkedIn and social media, Instagram and Facebook as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your elaborate presentation on the topic interpersonal relationship. Now I ask our branch secretary CA and Tarun to read out the questions asked in chat box. Tarun?
Hello. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
Sorry,
audio.
sir. Sir, there is some questions regarding how to respond to criticism, sir. Hello.
Sir, you are in
Yeah.
mute.
No problem. So what's the question? Is it that people are
Sir,
somebody
how
asks
to respond
how
to
to handle the
criticism
criticism? Is that the only word, or is there anything else?
or feedback?
Yes. Well, as I said, for a person to grow is not only from the perspective of interpersonal skill set. I have witnessed and seen in my career, now more than 20 years. When I moved, I suppose in 2005 and 6 to UK, the way these people give the feedback is very, very, very different from the way we have seen the feedback in the past as well. And how probably anybody would have reacted, somebody who come from South Asia, I would also have reacted it that I don't accept the feedback straight away. I try to hostile, I try to respond in a way that no, this is not true for me. So the feedback is something very, very important. And if I take you to the models which I have discussed it, that known to others, not known to me. So feedback is very, very important to identify and explore ourselves. And to all my friends actually way back there in India and elsewhere, wherever they are, please don't mind if somebody giving you a feedback which you may sound negative, because at least they are giving you an opportunity to improve. So feedback is a very important thing, and keep asking the feedback at this stage of my life and this career as well. I take feedback, from my peers, from my seniors, and from my mentors, such as like Amarjit Chopra sir is there, or maybe Nanda sir is there, or I suppose anybody who has done well. And I also try to follow some of the role models in my life as well, which may not necessarily speak to me and give me the feedback. But for example, Sachin Tendulkar, Amitabh Bachchan, or these are my role models as well, and I follow them, the kind of discipline they are maintaining it, and then I, try to find out a feedback in a probably like on my own terms, that how they are growing in the way. Feedback is very, very important, and without feedback, I suppose you will not be able to prosper well as a good chartered accountant.
Thank you, sir. And then another question, sir. How to handle the clients who don't value our services?
Well, this is a typical, I like to know the gentleman who has asked. What's his name?
Hello.
Yes. Who has asked this question? What's the name? If somebody asked this question,
Sir,
because
normally many are have experience. That's why
yes,
common
this
question,
is
sir.
something, yeah, this is something, I suppose this is a very, very normal situation for any chartered accountant, that,
Yes.
people have not only value, they don't pay us well. I suppose the kind of respects we need. But I would say that who is responsible for not letting the customer and the world know that what is our value, ourselves? If I'm not announcing, I just give you one example. Shah Rukh Khan happened to be the biggest movie star of Bollywood, and I suppose when you watch his videos, the way he promotes himself, you should see. Sometimes promotion of our own talent is missing. So you need to come across in a way, a mechanism that how value addition can be performed by writing the email, creating the value addition that, sir, because you have got this tax notice, I worked on the following points. I worked with the tax authorities, read this regulation, drafted the legal appeal, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I made the value addition, in, I suppose, by reducing the fine or by reducing the tenure as well. Similarly, if you are presenting, I suppose, an accounting standard, you can write again, sir, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as well. So client would only appreciate when they come to know about the value addition. My answer would be is that are you sure that are you really making a value addition? If as a chartered accountant, yes, you are making the value addition, then please start in announcing yourself. Don't be afraid. There is no problem in announcing yourself that you have the talent in the world. But please speak.
Thank you, sir. Then how to view that is your views on communicating annual employee reviews, sir?
Oh God, again, these are very, very difficult question, and some of the employees might curse me after that as well. The annual employee review, this is a very tricky question in a way that from the employee perspective, I would expect that the promotion should happen. I would expect, I suppose, the money should increase, my increment and benefit should increase. But from the employer perspective, most of the time, what I found, I suppose, in the CA firms as well, I suppose people try to suppress and they may not like to share the wealth. So this is all happening there. But the best system should be in place. People should be rewarded based on the merits in a way that there has to be a behavior the best system is which is based on the behavior and competencies. So if you haven't set up the annual appraisal process based on behavior and competencies, this is very much likely to be the biased. So how somebody demonstrated and behaved, being a good chartered accountant, the interpersonal skills, the communications, client handling skills, and the competencies which require technical skills, getting along with the people, submitting on the deadlines as well. So based on that, there has to be a good mechanism to evaluate the employee. But often I found, I guess this is very much lacking. And I can't give you the name as well, but I found in the big organizations also it's been lacking. But my message is to all the young and inspiring chartered accountant, if you believe you are at the wrong place, please, you are not a tree. You can't move. Find a good job and leave that employer.
Thank you, sir. Then one more question, sir. Request to give some role models name in practical life who have good interpersonal skills.
I suppose the best one you are speaking with. So follow me on my LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You will find me, I suppose, as a good role model if you want to follow it. But
Definitely, sir.
I follow, for example, Amarjit sir, whenever it comes to ethics, and I suppose demonstrating the integrity of the profession. I suppose there is no better than him. And I had the luxury of having some sessions I have given with him as well. This could be the perfect role model also. Or you can pick up Sachin Tendulkar. I like Sachin Tendulkar because I've never come across a single incident where he have expressed, I suppose, a dissatisfaction, anything that was a bad, whenever he represents India. Similarly, there might be the cases that people may like Virat Kohli. So Virat Kohli could be the good example nowadays as well, but compared to the Virat Kohli in the younger days. And there are other examples. So Amitabh Bachchan is the one, Shah Rukh Khan is another one, I suppose, because you should have a different role models in life, because role model also have problems. For example, when I write poems, or Javed Akhtar happens to be my role model when I write poems. So I had the opportunity of interacting with him. My writing style, if I were to say that, I try to write like him. But I don't like everything, about him. So he's my role model as well. So there could be different role models in life also. So try to find out at least good 2-3 role models, one from the work perspective, one from the social perspective, and follow these people as well. And that's it. So at times, whenever I have some problems, I guess in my life, or even as at the time when I was doing, Sachin happens to be my role model, and I'm glad that I met him also, because discipline and market perspective also very important.
Thank you, sir. Then one last question, sir. How to overcome communication issues with family members? Because it's an important thing in our life.
Well, this is something, and if I were to say, I don't know how many of you know Hindi or Urdu, I suppose, properly. But if I had to say some lines in Hindi is, अंदाज़े बयां से हर बात को नई शक्ल मिलती है. वरना इस दुनिया में कोई बात नहीं, बात नहीं. So what does it mean, I suppose, in a plain English? The way we speak, the way we present, I guess that makes the impact. And the relationship at home, because I have no hesitation in sharing. For example, I am now in my 19 years of marriage. 18 years have been well passed with the bless of God. And I find certain challenges at this stage of my life, with my wife, with my mother, with my sister as well. Because I can't expect that my wife to behave when I was recently married, because she has 3 children. I tend to travel a lot as well. She looks after the children, their food, their education. So I cannot expect, I suppose, the same sort of responsiveness she may have, towards me. So which means is I have to lower my guard. Whenever I'm here in London, I try to help her, in household work, try to, I suppose, take a little bit of wool or, load from her own shoulder as well. Whenever I am away, I probably, speak with her with a low tone, I suppose, on the phone, helping her, asking, I guess, the well-being as well. So these are the things in a relationship. It's like from like caring perspective. So you need to demonstrate. And let me just take you, I suppose, in some of the slides which we discussed, the empathy. I'm not sympathizing with my wife, for example. I'm demonstrating the empathy that I really care for her. And this is very much a very misconception in India, that I suppose a man has always an upper hand in relationship. Sorry, those days are well past now. Woman, on the other hand, should be the upper hand in the relationship. And I suppose being a married man, I would say so. And if you are father-son relationship, again, think from the perspective what your father is looking for, and father should look from the perspective what the son is looking for. This is all about, give and take. But from here on, I would expect empathize.
Thank you, sir. Due to paucity of time, I am handing over this session to the enabler, CAKC Sandhya.
Thank you, Tarun. So I am very happy to mention that so far nearly 2030 participants joined for this webinar. So dear participants, the interpersonal skills play a vital role in the professional success of chartered accountants by facilitating effective communication, building relationship, fostering teamwork, enabling leadership, negotiation, resolving conflicts, and achieving success in various aspects of life. Today, our speaker highlighted dimensions of interpersonal relationship, role of communication in interpersonal relationship, power of active listening, various interpersonal skill model, and tips to develop interpersonal skills. As chartered accountants, our role extends beyond crunching numbers and analyzing financial data. Nowadays, clients expect that their auditors should have sound interpersonal skills. They expect from us not only the advice on financial matters, but also represent them on many financial matters. Interpersonal relationships play a crucial part in our professional journey. We need to engage with clients effectively. Building strong relationship fosters trust and ensure clients feel heard and understood. There is no doubt that today's webinar highlighted the importance of communication in building professional relationships. With these closing remarks, now I invite our SICASA chairman, CAK Saravnaraja, to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, Chairman. On behalf of Tirupur branch, I thank Sean Navas sir for being here today and sharing his knowledge with us. He is a role model for leadership and has a lot of smarts when it's come to business stuff like making sure things are safe and advising on important decisions. We are lucky to have a chance to learn from him today. His experience has taught us a lot and given us a new way to think about things. Mr. Sean sir has been a big impact in his career, not just by doing his job well, but also by inspiring others to do their best too. We really appreciate him for taking the time to be here with us. His talk has made the session interesting and will stay in our minds for a long time. Let us give you a big thank you, Mr. Sansa, for being so great at what he does and for sharing his knowledge with us. We are honored to have him here for this session. Thanks once again for the members present to attend the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Saranaja. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.